This Sunday on Press Pass, the President and First Lady test positive for the coronavirus and fears there could be an outbreak among White House staff. President Trump is at Walter Reed Medical Center undergoing treatment this weekend. The news coming just days after the first presidential debate. Members of our Decision 2020 political panel are here to weigh in. Radio 570 WKBN host Ron Verb, publisher of the Buckeye Review, Dr. Mike McNair, and 21 News managing editor Justin Mitchell. Thank you, all three of you, for joining me on what is a very busy political news week as we head into the final stretch of this election process. First off, the vice president and his second lady, Karen, they were both tested. They tested negative for coronavirus. The president falls in that vulnerable age group. Where they are watching him pretty closely. What kind of impact, though, do you think this diagnosis could have on his administration as we're entering that potential final stretch of the campaign? Justin, I want to start with you on just the inner workings of what we hear from them on a daily basis.
Well, assuming that what we hear from White House doctors is accurate, it sounds as though he's doing okay for now. But the thing about this virus is that it's very unpredictable, and it's unpredictable even if you're younger and you're in pretty good shape. And it's going to last about 2.5 weeks in a best case. So you're about a month away from the election. I mean, how it's going to affect things is that it's going to tamp it down at least somewhat, even if he is hanging in there. But also, we're going to need a lot of information that is solid and is accurate, because we're hearing he's getting experimental drug cocktails. We're hearing that the fever hasn't broken. We're hearing about him getting remdesivir now. And there are sources saying that it might be a little worse than what we're maybe hearing from the official White House line. So we need solid info. And I think we can expect a somewhat surprisingly muted last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it wouldn't be surprising that people have some speculations because of that remdesivir being used. I want to talk to Mike and Ron about the impact that this could have on the campaign trail. Mike, do you think this is going to have an impact on how Biden and Trump campaigns? What do you think?
Well, Biden has already said that he was going to take down, or has taken down, his advertising or negative advertising. I don't think Trump has, but the Biden campaign and Joe Biden himself, has a pretty big heart of empathy, and not just the campaign. A lot of people are praying for the president because this is going to have a big impact. It has a big impact on the administration, on the nation, and literally on the world. They're hanging on to every word. It's unfortunate that sometimes, the words can't be trusted. You have to kind of read through the tea leaves. And that's because of the history of duplicity coming out of the White House. But people are genuinely care about what's going on, because many people are suffering with the same thing. And so we're thinking things will definitely change. The campaign will change as well.
Will it change the rhetoric, Ron? This is something that the president has been criticized on in terms of the handling of the pandemic, the mask wearing, the not mask wearing. And now he's not really skipped a beat, though. He already hit Twitter. He communicated with his followers. How do you think this changes the way he campaigns moving forward?
Well, I can only hope that it would change how he views this coronavirus situation, obviously, because he was so much into not wearing masks, and kind of the message he was sending wasn't one that was in tune with the CDC. So I hope that he comes back and he starts to say, well, maybe this is what we should be doing, and takes a more humble approach to this particular issue. As far as the campaigning is concerned, I mean, it could go either way, to be blunt with you. I think there's a lot of concern and attention on the president right now, maybe even some sympathy for the president. Hard to imagine that's taking place, and that might benefit him as far as the campaign is concerned. But it's still going to be a major issue, obviously, and it brings it to the forefront in the campaign because now he has this particular problem, and he's been criticized for how he's been handling it. Now it brings it to the top of the agenda.
Okay, the shift in focus. Keep going.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, to add to that it does add a realm of complication for Joe Biden also, because he's pulled the negative ads. But let's not forget, when you're running against an incumbent president, it is a referendum on that president. So he needs to walk a very fine line, because he can't completely not criticize the record he's running against, while he can't go too far and seem like he's being boorish while the man is suffering.
And it kind of puts the focus on Biden, who has not been as available as Trump to the media in recent weeks, with the campaign really nearing its end. Justin, and maybe the others can jump in as well. Do you think that that could be a problem for Biden? All the focus will be, well, what's he doing since the other one's not out? You know, I think that that might be something on the voters' minds.
Biden is now we're in the final stretch of this campaign. Biden needs to not make the mistake that Democrats have made in the past, where they start to give you sort of a textbook. Biden needs to find like maybe two key issues that he sticks to that aren't necessarily bashing, but that are bread and butter issues. And he's got them. It's, we don't want to take away your health care, and we want to protect your Social Security. And if he hits those themes, he can win on them, as long as he doesn't get too wonky. The fact is that the president is in court trying to take away the Affordable Care Act, which would have an impact on people with pre-existing conditions. And he is talking about eliminating the payroll tax that funds Social Security. Biden needs to stick to two key issues. There they are, free advice, and not wander too far.
Well, let's talk about the debate night, because it's easy to forget that with all that's happening in the news. I'm surprised we continuously have this up and down news cycle. But one of the things I wanted to mention was the fact that the commission on the debates said Tuesday that the debate structure was, quote, had made it clear that the additional structure should be added to the format of the remaining debates, something that they will adopt and announce shortly. So what we saw on the debate stage that night, what did you take away from it, and what was your reaction? Ron, I'll start with you.
I thought the whole thing was embarrassing to the country. I think the debate was just a giant, colossal embarrassment to our country. And I blame both of them for that, quite frankly. And as far as I'm concerned, I think you got to sit down and talk to the candidates and make sure that they better understand the rules and have a better moderator that gets control of it. Some of this is Chris Wallace's fault on how he handled the particular situation. But I don't think either one of them came off looking very good. And I got a lot of reaction on my radio show from people that thought maybe we should have two different candidates after that fiasco. But that you got to get them in line. And I don't think that's cutting off their mics. I just think that's having a better format and a better moderator that can keep control of it.
It's interesting you would blame the moderator, because clearly it was President Trump who caused all of the ruckus. He can talk, and that's his asset, but he talks over anything, over everything, against the questions. He hates to be questioned, contradicted, or confronted with facts. And so Biden.
Oh, now wait a minute. Now the facts, according to you, keep in mind they say Joe Biden was the first one that interrupted in this particular situation. And they say if you look at the previous debates he did, he also had the same technique. Listen, both of them are at fault here. Neither calling the president names and that, none of this looked favorable for either one of these candidates. But it was I'm not going to come from a partisan camp and say this guy looked better than that guy. They both looked terrible, and it was an embarrassment to the country, period.
I agree, but it was a Republican favorable, Trump favorable moderator. And he was the one who had trouble controlling the debate, only because President Trump would not answer a question. He wouldn't deny white supremacists. He wouldn't. Well,
he's denied that in the past. And Joe Biden, when he asked him about expending the Supreme Court, he doesn't answer any questions either.
Okay.
You got to sometimes get out of your biasness of Democrat and Republican and take a look at the whole situation and say this was a terrible debate. It was an embarrassment to the country. Neither one of these guys won, and it should be done better. We deserve better than that as viewers.
And I think you guys did a really nice job just now of showing how you let each other talk and let the other one get their point across in as nicely as we can. We have to keep it professional. I'll just say on a talent note, watching, I saw a couple of opportunities for that moderator to jump in, but it was a hard room to be in. I had some questions myself. So I want to bring you back to one of the main issues of the night, not necessarily just the Supreme Court pick and the shutdowns and the coronavirus, because I think we've covered a lot of that, but what hits here at home. Trump said that he brought back 700,000 jobs, that the Dems brought back nothing. Biden said even before COVID, manufacturing went into a hole. Now, I went to the Bureau of Labor Statistics and I found some numbers. 237,000 manufacturing jobs were lost when Trump took office till August of 2020. And then there was a gain of 499,000 jobs, peaking right before the pandemic, but it wasn't 700,000. So 499,000. Trump said that the Dems brought back nothing. That's not true either. While they had 578,000 jobs lost during the recession, 386,000 jobs were added during the Biden-Obama second term. So both of them had their own spins on manufacturing and the economy, which is what an issue would be that a lot of voters vote on. Traditionally, especially, recently, except for maybe the pandemic is higher up. Who do you think does better on the economy and their messaging on that as we head into Election Day?
Well, I think the Democrats have a better handle on the impact of the economy, even though the Republicans and Trump win on the rhetoric of the economy, because Trump says we build the greatest economy. Well, those are not true facts. But the economy was doing decently. It's not better than it was under Democrats, but he says that, and so that's an alternative fact. But on the healthcare side, which is the main issue, it's affected by the economy. So jobs, it's affected by the overall economy. And wages, if the economy is doing really well, wages are up. Healthcare, people have benefits and can pay their bills.
Well, hold the phone for a second. I mean, there's some things here that are of concern. First of all, the stock market, despite the coronavirus, let's be realistic. The downturn in the economy came as a result of this Chinese coronavirus. That's what caused this situation. Prior to it, record high employments for everybody, all the races involved. Wages were going up. We were basically at full employment, and we didn't have a problem with inflation. Along comes the coronavirus. It causes serious economic issues. However, despite that, we have unemployment coming back. We got a serious economic problem now, despite what the stock market does. And I don't know that anybody, Democrat or Republican, is going to be able to solve it till we figure out what to do with this coronavirus. It's a huge problem. The unemployment numbers are of concern. There's a lot of families where neither person in the household is making a living right now. How long can the government afford to pay their rent or give them a moratorium on their rent or any of this stuff? There's a huge economic problem brewing out there. And this goes way beyond Democrat and Republican. This is a problem solely as a result of a virus that's affecting this country. And despite that, it seems to be doing decent in many sectors.
Still hearing about a lot of layoffs even within my inner circle. So Justin, I'll let you have the last word real quick before we go.
I think I would return to the point that both candidates need to pick one economic issue that they trumpet, because economic numbers are all over the place. You can find statistics and cherry pick them. So the fact is that they can both make those cases, and the president has done a better job up to this point on making his economic argument. People are buying it. Every poll shows that. Joe Biden needs to make his closing case by seizing on one or two economic matters and then hitting them hard, because there are people who are definitely still suffering that he can reach, and they might very well be swing voters.
All right, and they are in a dead heat here in Ohio. Thank you for joining me this morning. I'm sure we will be weighing in a little bit more often as we head toward the election. So thank you so much for taking time this Sunday.
Thank you.
Thank you.